President Donald Trump is a hero. Those were the words of Marc Fogel, a teacher from Pennsylvania who's been held in captivity by the Russians since 2021 for over 3 years. He was finally released. Late last night, he was brought to the White House where he met with President Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And he had an American flag draped around his neck, some kind of canned beverage in his hand. I'm not really sure what it is. And he was just overjoyed, just so excited, so ecstatic to be home, and had some very kind words for President Donald Trump and the rest of the team who worked diligently to get him released.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. The senators and representatives that passed legislation in my honor to get me home are the heroes. I am in awe of what they all did. My family has been a force. I think my 95-year-old mother is probably the most dynamic 95-year-old on earth right now. And I am so indebted to so many people. I think I remember a Churchill quote that he said when the RAF was fighting the Luftwaffe, and he said that never have so many owed so much to so few. And I put myself, fortunately and unfortunately, into that category. And I said, never has one owed so much to so many, that this superorganism of people that came to my support and the love that I was given sustained me for 3.5 years.
Not only that, but several of those years, about over 100 days, he was kept in a hospital where he said he received over 400 injections. We're not really sure what the injections were for. I'm sure they'll be delving into that. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of medical treatment for Marc Fogel as he goes forward. But really exciting news, and an exciting deal made by President Donald Trump. And Marco Rubio was on I believe it was Sean Hannity. He was on the phone discussing how this whole thing came about and discussing how Donald Trump was able to get Marc Fogel back.
We have a great team here. Adam and his team do a great job with this, and Steve Witkoff is phenomenal. But none of this is possible without President Trump. This is the 10th American that's come home after being detained somewhere overseas in just 3 weeks in the White House. It's an extraordinary achievement. And look, this is what happens when you have a strong president, and that's what we're seeing. And look, anytime an American comes home, we should be excited about it. This is a case that languished under the Biden administration. They really didn't give it priority. I met with the family. I believe the mother got to meet President Trump at that now, legend, infamous, rally at Butler, right the same day the president was almost killed. And so tonight is really a happy occasion. Should be for all Americans, but certainly for Mr. Fogel and his family.
Absolutely. And also for the president and for all Americans, because they know, once again, they have a strong leader in the White House. They have a leader who's going to do whatever he can to make sure that Americans who are being held abroad by anybody, whether it's Russia or Hamas or anyone, he's going to do everything he can to make sure that those Americans come home, and that they come home safely and swiftly. And there have been all kinds of great photos released of Marc Fogel on the plane with Steve Witkoff as he was heading home, drinking some kind of adult beverage, looks like a bourbon or a whiskey. He's got a plate of food, and you can only imagine what he must be feeling. Traveling to Russia in 2021, he was detained at the airport for, I believe it was espionage, even though he's a history teacher from Pennsylvania. And it was definitely a show of force, or a bully move by Vladimir Putin during the Joe Biden administration. And Joe Biden, of course, had no backbone or no spine, no ability to get him or any of these other people back. Donald Trump doing it again. 10 prisoners released in just 3 short weeks of Donald Trump's latest presidency. We first heard about this from Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, a good friend of ours, formerly a congressman from Florida's 6th District. And he wrote today, President Donald J. Trump and his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, are able to announce that Mr. Witkoff is leaving Russian airspace with Marc Fogel, an American who was detained by Russia. President Trump, Steve Witkoff, and the president's advisors negotiated an exchange that serves as a show of good faith from the Russians and a sign we are moving in the right direction to end the brutal and terrible war in Ukraine. Since President Trump's swearing in, he has successfully secured the release of Americans detained around the world, and President Trump will continue until all Americans being held are returned to the United States. By tonight, Marc Fogel will be on American soil and reunited with his family and loved ones, thanks to President Trump's leadership, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. And this is exactly what happened. You can see Donald Trump and Marc Fogel at the White House, again with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson in the background, Marco Rubio also there. And this is what Donald Trump does. Now, the exchange we hear was for a Russian captive here in the United States. We're not sure who. That information hasn't been released. But as you can tell by the statement, as you can tell by what Donald Trump said about this and what Mike Waltz are saying about this is a step forward, not just to the release of Americans all over the world, not just to building a coalition again with Vladimir Putin and Russia, but to ending the ridiculous war in Ukraine, which has gone on way too long, cost way too much money, and spent way too many lives of both Russians and Ukrainians. Donald Trump is saying we're going to put an end to this. He's already sent Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, which is something he announced yesterday, which, if you think about it, it's very interesting that Donald Trump would send Secretary Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, to Ukraine. Steve Witkoff went to Russia. Marco Rubio's been going all over the rest of the world. But the Treasury Secretary to Ukraine, it signifies a couple of things. First of all, it signifies that Donald Trump is going to cut off all of the money to Ukraine, because you don't send the Treasury Secretary unless he's got bad news for somebody who's been bleeding cash from the United States Treasury. And that is definitely what's been going on in Ukraine with Volodymyr Zelensky. There also may be some investigations into the expenditures that have been going on in Ukraine during the war, because you may remember there's been absolutely no oversight about the money, the billions and billions of dollars that Congress has just blindly sent to Ukraine for war efforts, for whatever. I'm not even really 100% sure, but the amount of money that they've been sending over and over again to Ukraine has been ridiculous. And it appears that Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is going there to cut off the funding and then maybe even look around and say, hey, where has this money been going? It seems like the chickens are going to start coming home to roost. Either way, Donald Trump will end the war, whether by diplomacy or by bankruptcy. One way or another, he's going to make sure that it's all over. Speaking of making sure that we're fiscally responsible, speaking of making sure that we're doing things properly, Donald Trump had a press conference again yesterday where he signed some executive orders regarding Doge, and Elon Musk was in attendance along with Lil X, who, this kid, I got to be honest with you, this kid has a front row seat to history. Lil X is in the Oval Office when Donald Trump is signing an executive order about saving trillions of dollars from our budget. And his father, Elon Musk, is standing there explaining to the press how dangerous it is for a democracy to allow a bureaucracy to take over. And Donald Trump signed another executive order basically saying, look, Doge is a thing, and every federal employee and every federal department needs to welcome it and accept it because it's happening.
Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think it's very important. And that's one of the reasons I got elected. I say we're going to do that. Nobody had any idea it was that bad, that sick, and that corrupt. And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. We want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation.
And the judges on the Democrat side of the aisle have been working diligently to try and stop Donald Trump or slow down Donald Trump. And they've been ignoring the Constitution, and they've been ignoring, well, justice, which is ironic. In any effort, they've been basically flushing their careers down the toilet in an effort to do the will of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has no power. They have no power in the White House. They have no power in the Senate. They have no power in the House of Representatives. They don't even really have power in the Supreme Court. The only thing they have are federal judges, most of them Obama appointees, MPs all around the country who are stopping Donald Trump's orders. Executive orders to send criminal aliens to Guantanamo Bay from New Mexico. Executive orders to remove DE&I language from websites. Executive orders to, of course, shut down the USAID and the Department of Treasury order by that judge who said, you know what, the Secretary of the Treasury does not have any right to look at the Treasury. Donald Trump is not happy with these judges, and he'll be taking action probably against them soon enough.
For the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just when you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent, and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying or that things are honest that they're paying. And nobody can even believe this. Other people, law professors, they've been saying, how can you take that person's right away? You're supposed to be running the country, but we're not allowed to look at who they're paying it to and what they're paying. We have massive amounts of fraud that we caught. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already in, 2 weeks?
Yes.
And it's going to go to numbers that you're not going to believe. And much, as I said, much is incompetence and much is dishonesty. We have to catch it. And the only way we're going to catch it is to look for it. And if a judge is going to say you're not allowed to look for it, that's pretty sad for our country. I don't understand how it could even work.
Yeah, I don't understand how that could even work either. And I don't think Donald Trump, those are the kinds of orders that I don't think Donald Trump would adhere to, especially since Donald Trump is, of course, don't forget, he is the chief law enforcement officer in the country. So if a federal judge gives an order and says you can't do this and Donald Trump does it, is he really going to send the FBI out to investigate himself? I can't imagine that would happen. Donald Trump and Elon Musk then went through and they did something interesting. They basically went out they spent rather a good hour almost in this press conference itemizing some of the waste and the fraud that they've already seen. One of them was the kickbacks or the contracts. Donald Trump shared a story about a contract that was supposed to last 3 months, but instead lasted decades, and the government continued to pay it out. And you have to stop and ask yourself, why is that happening?
If you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. You know it's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years. And the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years. They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month. And you have various things like that. And even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you call that incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be deals made on both sides, where I guess the money he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see a lot of kickback here.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
Yeah, tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts. So he has to get a kickback. So that's what I got elected for, that and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars. And when you get down to it, it's going to be probably close to $1 trillion. It could be close to $1 trillion that we're going to find. That will have quite an impact on the budget.
Yeah, the budget and the deficit and everything else. And then Donald Trump did something that he likes to do, because, Donald Trump hires experts. He hires people who he believes are competent and smart and can do their job. And one of them is Elon Musk. Elon Musk and his son, Little X, who were there, like I said, in the Oval Office. And Donald Trump said, look, I want Elon to tell you exactly what he's found, because there's been a lot of scrutiny on Elon Musk. The media has been attacking him. The left has been attacking him. They think that Elon Musk is some kind of shadow presidency, or Elon Musk is just in it to try to find secrets and dirt on his competitors, or Elon Musk is, trying to take over the world like he's Dr. Evil or Dr. No or Dr. No Evil or one of those things. And so Elon Musk said, look, no, yeah, there's some issues. Let me share with you what we've kind of seen here. And one of them is about Social Security, the beloved Social Security system, which if you don't think people have been taking advantage of the Social Security system, well, here's Elon Musk to tell you they have.
There's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
They're collecting checks, or somebody in their family is collecting checks the entire time. He talked about why they can't get federal employees to retire because the system is so antiquated that it's working out of a mine shaft in Pennsylvania, and they use manila envelopes. In this day and age, with all the technology we have, can you imagine someone like Elon Musk, who's at the forefront of artificial intelligence, walking into a system where they're using manila envelopes in a mine shaft?
If people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else, and you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way.
Of course you could. By the way, those photos were real, and he did post them as promised online. And you can see the Iron Mountain limestone mine in Pennsylvania is fully functional. It's there, and the government employees do exactly what he said. They take them down an elevator. And if you'd like to retire, your retirement paperwork goes down the shaft, and it goes to one of these. It goes to one of these boxes on one of these shelves, and lo and behold, you're retired. But it's a tedious, it's an expensive, it's a slow, and it's a stupid process. And it's something that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going to do away with. They're going to automate everything. They're going to make it technologically advanced, and they're going to cut out the government waste. If people can't retire, then that's and they want to, or they need to, then that's money that the government's spending on people that have no business being there, or don't even want to be there anymore. A couple of other things that are exciting that are happening today. Tulsi Gabbard apparently will finally be confirmed. Her confirmation is set for this morning. It was supposed to be last night, but there was a snowstorm, wouldn't you know it? And now Tulsi Gabbard, after moving out of committee and after the 30 hours of wasted time that the Democrats dragged out for debate, Tulsi Gabbard will be, we believe, confirmed this morning at the Senate, and she will become Donald Trump's director of national intelligence. A very important role, one that Donald Trump needs, especially as he continues to fly around the world or send his advocates around the world to end wars and free political prisoners. All of these things that Donald Trump is doing at a record-setting pace, he needs a DNI for. And finally, today, we will have a DNI. No word on Kash Patel and RFK Jr., their nomination still being held up by, the people, by the Democrats in the Senate and other various places. Listen, if there's way more we got to cover, there's a lot going on in the world today, and as there always is. And if you would like to hear more of it, if you live or pre-recorded, whatever your preference, if you can join us live at noon, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic is our second daily podcast. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. It's on YouTube and Rumble and X and all these other fantastic places where you can watch live. If you'd rather, you can listen to it because we do have a downloadable podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you listen to it we would love for you to post us a review. In fact, if you're listening to this podcast, we'd love for you to post a review of this podcast. Reviews help everybody. Reviews help me. They help you. They help the algorithm. They help us spread the word and get the news out there. So please search for Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Leave us a review, download, listen, and enjoy.